Well, hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. A lot of you know me. I'm Chris Brown at Lindsay Hopkins. I'm the GED instructor, and I'm really blessed to have with me a few of my colleagues who you also know. I have Tamika Adams. She is our instructor for the boot camp program, the GED instructor for the boot camp program. We are here to help you as teachers, and if we help you as teachers, then we can help you serve your students better. Now I'm going to move to my colleague, Ms. Tamika Adams, and she's going to go over some instructional strategies for the classroom. So enjoy the rest of the presentation. And again, thank you all so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tamika Adams, and I am an ABE GED teacher for Lindsay Hopkins Technical College. So I'll be talking about connecting and influencing learner outcomes. So adult basic education is comprised of non-traditional learners, those who've dropped out due to unconventional methods of learning, some that are disabled, English speakers of other languages, single family, those that come from single family homes that are head of their households. And so with these students, the pedagogy is the same, the method and the practice of teaching is no different than that of K-12. And so if the practice is the same, the approach is the same. And so I wanted to start off with the proverb that it takes a village to raise a child, and that students don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And so because of that, I could hear some of our colleagues, adult educators, say that, but these students are adults. Yes, we have concerns. We have concerns with student commitment, their inability to compartmentalize and not to worry about outside issues while they're in class. We have concerns regarding student focus, their dedication to the learning process, and then students actually meeting the needs of the course or completing the course requirements. And so here's what I will also let you know in terms of learner issues. They also have issues as well too. Whether it's physical, emotional, or learning disabilities, their lack of motivation, language barriers, their roles and commitments. A lot of times, if you're teaching on campus, most students have jobs, full-time jobs, and they're carrying the full weight of the household and still trying to raise children and still trying to get their education so they can move forward and create some form of income for their household. And then the final issue, learner issue, is resources, their time. Often, since August, since we opened back up, what I found in assisting other CTE teachers here at Lindsay is that we have students who are literally working 8-10 hours overnight and coming to class, and they're tired and they're drained, or they just don't have the right technology to complete the course itself. And so how do we strike a balance? Or how do we keep the adult student engaged with all of the challenges they may face? Well, we have to identify what motivates the student and influence them through our daily instruction. We have to influence them through our daily instruction. So we have to make the connection. We have to make the connection. I could hear a few other people saying, I have so much on my plate as an instructor, particularly with the pandemic taking place. I don't have time to employ additional resources or look for other means to connect with them. However, please understand that you could learn to connect with your students by way of profiling them, okay? And so here are a few profiling techniques that I came up with. First profiling technique is daily quotes. The second will be journal prompts, surveys, and reflective activities. So we'll go ahead and talk about daily quotes. Daily quotes often motivate and spark conversations. And as students are learning from the daily quotes, remember, as people are responding to daily quotes, they have an opportunity to learn from other people in the classroom, and then you as the instructor have an opportunity to learn from them and how they process information. So here is an example of two examples of daily quotes. The first one, where there's a will, there's a way. And usually with the quote, I'll actually make sure that I add the person who actually wrote it. If it's anonymous, put unknown. And then the second quote, excuses are the tools of incompetence which builds monuments of nothing. Those who specialize in them are seldom good at anything. And so the quote is usually a do now for me. It's usually up on my board so that when the students walk in the door, the first thing that they do is they write down the quote and they have an opportunity to process and think about the quote. Now let's think about this. We have students who have full-time responsibilities, who have other issues outside that cannot compartmentalize. But if they have a daily quote every day, it's a motivation while they're in the classroom with you. And so after the daily quote, I usually have 3 students to read the quote out loud. And then as a whole class, we discuss the quote, because now we're discussing how we can motivate each other and how we see and process the actual quote itself. The next profiling technique will be journal prompts. Journal prompts allow learners to self-reflect on issues that they may have or issues that may take place with them personally, professionally, or within their learning environment, able to provide encouragement, and they're able to release whatever it is that may be bothering them. Excuse me. And so the journal, the quote of the day that I have up on the screen is, until you heal your past, your life patterns and relationships will continue to be the same. It's just the faces that change. And so the journal prompt that will actually go to that quote will be, there'll be 2, because I always have 2 different people, 2 different groups. The journal prompt will be, write a letter forgiving the person who hurt you, or write a letter apologizing to the person who you have hurt in the past. And I get a variety of stuff. And usually with this type of journal prompt, because it's so personal, I usually don't even take it. Once they've written a journal prompt, I'll tell them to go ahead and put it in their folder. But that's my way of getting them over the hump and ready to actually learn what I have to teach them for the day. So once again, journal prompts coincide with the daily quote. It's practice writing judgment-free. It helps the students to focus, and it's only given either weekly or every other week. Okay, so here's another journal prompt that I've used often. The quote was, for that particular day, "The man who has no imagination has no wings" by Muhammad Ali. And the journal prompt is, successful people are driven by personal and professional goals. What are your goals? And I make them write down their goals, 1, 3, 5, 10, and 20 year. Okay, so the next technique that we have is surveys. Surveys provide perspectives on issues presented in the class. Now that we're in the COVID-19 pandemic, surveys come in a variety of forms at this point. And so what I did is I wanted to offer several means and methods in which teachers can employ surveys, whether you're in class, person to person, face to face, or you're online. And so the first is Zoom. We all know that in Zoom we have a chat feature, right? And you could actually set your chat feature wherein students can chat with each other, or they can chat to the teacher directly. That's in your settings feature. And what I've done is I've provided the actual websites or the information at the bottom, so that once this presentation goes out, if you ever look back at it, you'll be able to click on the presentation and it'll show you how to access that particular feature. So that's in Zoom. So, and that's online, live. So in Canvas, there's no surveys, but you have a feature for class discussions, and you can actually set your class discussions up wherein you present a particular question, the student has to answer, and then you require the student to answer 2 other students once they answer. Now, they can't see what the other students are saying. They can only see that once they click submit, meaning they've answered the initial discussion question that you've posted in Canvas. Now, Kahoot is another fabulous program, and it's actually an online in-person survey program. You could have a class up, and the students could take out their cell phones, or they could take out their electronic gadgets, and you're posing questions on your board through PowerPoint, and the kids are actually answering on their electronic gadget. And the last one, if you don't have any students online, you also have a classroom version, and this is what I do, because boot camp and Department of Corrections, we don't have too much access to technology. What I do is I normally label the four corners of my wall, the four corners of the room, A, B, C, D, or Northwest, East, South. And as I'm asking questions live, I make the students stand up and walk to the four corners. And those are ways that you can gain information to profile the students and see how they process information, what they like and what they don't like. Reflective activities. So in this reflective activities clarifies the current state that the student is in. And so a great reflective activity are icebreakers, which provide meaningful lessons and listening skills and compassion and empathy. There's one reflective activity that I enjoy using in the classroom, and it's called the Right Family Vacation. If you ever get a chance, the Right Family Vacation, WRIGHT. And so what it does is it allows the students to stand up. You have the students to stand in a circle. You give several students an item in their hand, and every time they hear the word right or left, they have to pass that item that's in their hand. And then once the activity is over, you ask clarifying questions. Now, most of the students will be able to tell you the general idea of the story, but they can't tell you the details. And so what I try to teach them is that listening skills are important and that they have to learn how to compartmentalize to understand the smallest detail of what we're teaching them to get them over the hump to get that GED. Now, team building activities. I think we all use this for the most part. A lot of differentiated instruction is based upon team building activities. If you have a very large unit or a large chapter that you're trying to get through because you're behind, you could break that unit up, you could break that chapter up, and you could divide the classes into teams. Who's the stronger person versus the less stronger person, and then you kind of get them working together in that respect. And then we have a closing activity, and I love closing activities because at the end of the day, I want to know that what I taught the student, they got it, that I made the connection and they got it. One way or another, they got it. So you could use the aha moment. You could exit slips. What was your aha moment? Having a class discussion. Use an exit slip. What did you learn today? KWL is an old strategy that was used back in the day, or just regular, we're adults. Have a regular class discussion. It works every single time. And so what I'll say to all of my colleagues is that we have to be resourceful. And so if someone comes in with an issue, whether it's related to food or whether it's related to housing, yes, send that student to the counselor, provide that student with encouragement. And it's even better if you can say to the student, listen, I know where you've been, or give a testimony, I know where you've been. These are some of the things that you probably need to do to recalibrate, okay? Connect. Know the needs of your students. Sometimes they may not come up to you, but if you notice off today, they're not as hyper, or as active, or as chatty, or as social as they normally are. Like sometimes they just need a word of encouragement. If you want to talk, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. And then influence, connecting by way of influence and motivate. When you learn how your students are processing information, when you learn just through those 4 basic activities or techniques that I've suggested, you'll know what motivates them. So if even in profiling them through journal writing, that the person that they love the most is their mom, and that they're doing this because of their little child, or they're doing this because their aunt or their grandmother, you know how to walk up to them and say, listen, grandma's going to be proud of you. Just keep moving. Let's persevere. And there's nothing more important than motivation and purpose for a student. Nothing more important than them knowing that they have purpose and motivation. And so these are the 4 techniques that I will truly say that I suggest that every adult educator should employ within their class. Thank you so much.